Okay, something I've been waiting for a long time has finally happened. I finally got me a 4-channel amp for my car stereo, and this one here is the dual, see if I can find, XPR84D. It is CEA rated for 80 watts RMS per channel at 4 ohms, and I'm going to put a link in the description to the Budget Gems or Budget Busts video where he amp dynoed this amp and found that it is indeed getting its rated output power. Now, before I saw that video, I was reluctant to buy this amp because I have had dual products before and they were shit. But when I saw that amp dyno video from Budget Gems or Budget Busts, I was like, I'm going to try this one, because before I saw that video, I was looking at low-cost amps on Sonic Electronics, and I saw a Soundstorm EV400.4 4-channel amp, and I had thought about getting that one. It was $40, and Quality Mobile Video amp dynoed that one and found that it only gets 15 watts RMS per channel, which I thought would have been sufficient in my case. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than what I was getting running just the speaker outputs on my 8-track player. But then when I saw this one amp dynoed, I went and looked on Walmart's website, and right now these are on rollback on Walmart.com for $63. So for $63 for an amp that's CEA rated, that puts out 80 watts per channel, that's a hell of a deal. That's a much better value than that piece of shit Soundstorm amp. So this is what I'm going with. I'm gonna unbox it here. I already unboxed this earlier in the car when I first got it. I used free in-store pickup since my local Walmart had it in stock. So I went to the store to pick it up. We got baggie here with high-level adapters, mounting hardware, and the Allen wrenches for the terminals. 2 installation and owner's manual, 1 in Spanish, 1 in English. And then we have the amp itself with protectors on the end. And I will tell you right now, this thing's got some pretty good weight to it. I mean, this thing feels nice. I mean, this has got some real good heft for its size. I mean, this does not feel cheap at all. It's hard to believe this damn thing was only $63. I mean, this thing, you could hurt somebody if you throw this at them. So we got our 4 line inputs and high inputs, which I'm not going to use. I'll use the line inputs. And then we have our adjustments for gain, bass boost, high pass filter, low pass filter. The only one we're going to be concerned with is going to be the gain, because the crossovers are going to be set to full, and I do not want the bass boost because all that does is cause distortion. And then on this end we have our 4 speaker outputs, 2 25 amp fuses in series for a total of 50 amps. And then we have our power block, which has the store security tag bolted into it. Let's see if I can get rid of that right now. doesn't want to just break the fuck off. There we go. And this power block here is also the power LED. This whole plastic frame around it lights up blue whenever it's operating normally and turns red whenever the amp goes into protect mode. And this is a pretty small unit. I can almost cover it with my hand. I mean, here's the size comparison to an 8-track tape. I mean, it's like, as far as width, it's slightly narrower than an 8-track, and its length is just a slightly longer than 2 8-track tapes side by side. So here's a good size comparison, about, you know, length and width, about 2 8-track cartridges. And as far as height, just barely higher than 2 8-track tapes stacked together. So the total size of this unit is about 4 8-track tapes stacked together and placed side by side. That's about the size of this unit. So that's pretty small for something that puts out 80 watts RMS into 4 channels. So enough talking about it, let's go get it installed. Okay, I got the amplifier installed after several hours of work. I had to go to Walmart shortly after I started because I needed to get another set of RCA cables, because I had a change of plans for where I was going to put the amp, because I originally was thinking I'd put it somewhere in the dash, like up here or something, but there's really no solid place to mount it there. And even if there was, if I ever needed to get to the amp again to adjust it, or if I ever changed speakers and needed to retune or something, I'd have to take the dash pad back out to retune it. Got my fader knob down there. So I just ultimately decided to relocate it to the trunk. And the amp wiring kit I bought, which was a Skosh kit from Walmart, only came with 1 set of RCA cables. So I had to go run and grab another set. And I forgot to put that kick panel back. But all 4 of my speakers are wired. It was actually a pretty easy process with relocating the amp to the rear, because I already had speaker wire going back there from where the rear speakers used to be powered off the stereo. So I just connected those wires to the front door speakers, and then back there where they used to go into the rear speakers, I just connected them to the amp, and then ran speaker wire straight from the rear speaker outputs on the amp to the rear speakers. So now we're all installed, and not much to see with the power cable. It was a 1, 2, 3 as easy as they get. Just connected it right here on the input side of the solenoid. Got the fuse holder here, 50 amp maxi fuse. And now that the installation is finished, it's time for tuning. And that is why I'm out here in the middle of fucking nowhere, because I do not want to disturb the peace. And I don't have an oscilloscope, distortion meter, or any of that fancy equipment the pros use for tuning amps. So I've just got to set my gains by ear. There's not really much to set, just pretty much just the gain. because I'm not setting any crossovers or anything like that. Oh, what I just did with my keys. Oh, I left them in the trunk. And I made sure when I installed this that I left the controls for tuning accessible. So the first thing you do when you tune is you need to find your radio's clipping point. That's the point where it can deliver, or where it'll start distorting. When you find that clipping point, you back off just until you're still getting clean sound. And then you want to tune your amp to match what the radio is capable of delivering cleanly. So what you pretty much do, find your radio's clipping point, then you'll slowly turn up the gain until the speakers start distorting, and then slowly back it off until you get clean signal. It's not a perfect way of doing it. It's not, you know, gonna be as accurate and dead on as using an oscilloscope or any of the rigs the pros use, but it's better than just not setting your gains and roasting your speakers. So first thing you want to do to find your radio's clipping point is find your gain controls, or you can get to them easy, and turn them all the way down. They are already all the way down. And then you'll turn your radio on. Let's see, we need a music source. I guess this one's at the end of the cartridge. Let's see what we got of Phil Collins. Well, I can tell you that already has a hell of a lot more output power than the radio did itself. Good God. Well, with no bass, I can't tell what's distorting, so I'll just have to use Bluetooth. Okay, I think this is the maximum that my radio can play without distortion. Well, I had to back it off a little bit more. This is with the gain set to minimum. I don't think I'm going to have to turn the gain up much higher than this. Oh, front. Well, I'm going to do rear first because that's what I can hear the easiest. Getting strong. Now, so that I can hear the fronts, I'm going to turn my fader all the way to the front. The gain goes higher on those than it did on the rears. So yeah, that was $60 well spent. That dual amp, this thing is getting a hell of a lot more output than it was with the speakers hooked in series to the radio's speaker outputs. Which, by the way, I have the radio speaker outputs just connected directly into the RCAs on the amp, because that's how weak the speaker outputs in that thing are, that you can just use them as line outputs. I'm going to close the trunk and see how it sounds. Close the trunk, close the doors. So yeah, this thing went from barely putting out any sound to just positively screaming. And by the way, these are just $30 Sony speakers from Walmart. And back there, I think those are like $40 Pioneer 6x8s back there. So not even real expensive speakers. So for a $60 amp and like $70 worth of speakers, the speakers I've had in here for months, but it's pretty damn good sound. So I'm sure as hell happy with it. It's a hell of a lot better than what I had before. Let's see how it sounds with an 8-track, if I got something that's actually queued up on something. Well, the sound is a little wobbly, probably because of that belt being super glued back together, but damn, it's a hell of a lot stronger. So yeah, there we have it. I finally got a good sound system going in here. Thanks for watching. More to come later.